Hello, everyone. Today I've got Peter Mohr with us. As always, we're going to go into some of the fun stuff he's up to. Usually it's just one or two things with people, but this man, that is not the case. There's a podcast, there's multiple businesses, there's coaching, there's book, maybe even more than one. But yeah, there's lots of fun stuff happening in this episode. He's going to give us a bit about his journey to get to where he is today, and the goal, vision going forward from here. He's got loads of advice to pass on. Part of that is in the exit strategy world, which is a really fun way to have in your mind for entrepreneurs of setting things up with that potentially as the long-term goal. And then at the end, he's going to ask me a question. We'll see what shows up in that space. But for now, Pete, take it away. Tell us a bit about your businesses.
Awesome. Well, from the 30,000-foot view, I've been in business for 30 years, and it's crazy as you look back. It goes so quick. I was that typical kid pushing the lawnmower, doing stuff, making some money on the side. Put myself through university that way with some small businesses too. But my first real business was a franchise. It was a bathroom franchise, and I came out of university, no debt. I had a bit of money because I had been working all the way through, and it was what I could afford at the time. And we did bathtub refinishing, we did bathtub liners and acrylic wall systems. That was in 1994, and we went through ups and downs with our franchisor. So I have been through that. With the franchise got sold 3 different times in 5 years, to the point where at the end of the 5th year, I just said, you know what, I'm going to exit my franchise and keep running this business. So we did it properly, but we changed the name, changed the brand and everything, and still had that core business. And we ran it ourselves for another 10 or so years after that until we exited that business. And the interesting thing is that the person that owns it called me in September and he said, Pete, you had it for 15 years. I've had it for 15 years. It served both of our families well. So it's really kind of good to look back and see that legacy is continuing on and all that stuff. So we were doing that. But at the same time, about 5 years in, I was offered another opportunity, and it was a cleaning franchise.
Okay.
So around 1998, 99, and it was really suffering in the town that we were living in. They only had 30 customers, pretty much dead. The guy hadn't been seen at any of his cleaning contracts for almost a month. He had pretty much given up. So when I walked in the door expecting to have these contracts in place, they're like, oh, we've already hired somebody because, we haven't seen this guy in a month. So it was just an interesting thing, but we grew that business from 30 to 300 clients, and we exited that business as well. So then I went back to school, took my executive MBA, thought I'd get into big business for a while, but that was in the crash 2008, 2009. There wasn't a whole lot of that kind of stuff going on. I became a licensed business broker helping people buy and sell businesses, which
Okay.
is where I found one of the businesses we own still today, 15 years later. As we record this, tomorrow actually is the 15th anniversary of our shoe store. And I bought a shoe store at the time. And we bought another one. We moved it, we closed it. At the same time, we opened another one, which also celebrates its 10th anniversary tomorrow. It just happens to be that same day for the 15th anniversary that we've owned the one, and the 10th anniversary since we founded the other one. But they're great businesses, do really well. And, a lot of the work that I do and I speak to is this idea of moving from operator to owner in your business so that you can do the things that you truly love to do and have the business operating to a point where it's self-sustaining and able to decisions can be made by other people, all this sort of stuff. And I'm the coaching that I do, which is where I spend most of my time these days, helping other business owners set their business up and build value, and to the point where they build value to maybe they want to even talk about exiting. But I couldn't do this if I didn't actually practice it in my own business. And one of the key things that I just came back about 3 weeks ago was I took a month sabbatical, and that was, something that we want to do, but it's also was a test for the business to see what needed to be changed, what needed to be done, and what wasn't being done when I wasn't around. All of these different things to really set up. Some business owners say month sabbatical. I mean, I haven't even taken a week off, that kind of stuff. Well, this is the kind of thing. Like if you're thinking about that, and if you're thinking about, how we can set up process and people and accountability so that you're not accountable for everything and you're not the hub and spoke of your entire business all the time, then that's essentially what I do these days, is help people through that journey.
And that's amazing. Like a month. Like, as you said, a lot of people really can't envision that that could possibly be a thing for their business.
Yeah.
And for you learning how to do that, like you did go to school for parts of it. Is that partly where you learned it, or where was the knowledge coming from?
I was very, very fortunate in that I have a great business family, essentially. And so a lot of my relatives are farmers, independent business owners. A lot of my relatives, I have retail in the family as well. We've got heavy construction in the family. We've got a lot of people that ran their own business. And my dad didn't own his own business, but he basically ran one because the owner had multiple businesses, and my dad was in charge of one of those. So he ran it like it was his own and got profit sharing and stuff like that too. My mom was a teacher, but she was always entrepreneurial. She was out there hustling and doing stuff, little side jobs and all this kind of stuff too. So, and I have multiple business degrees. So I've got my MBA, but I have another B admin as well. And I understand the book work and the accounting and all of that sort of stuff. I also mentioned I was a business broker. Well, to become a business broker, you need to understand the financials and the deal making and the structure and all of the stuff that you get involved with in the transfer of business. And so, although I'm not a licensed business broker anymore, I certainly understand that and work with that as I help people understand what's involved when and if they want to look at transferring their business, whether they want to sell their business either for retirement purposes, or if you're like me, halfway down the journey and you're like, I just don't want to do this anymore and I want to try something else, or whatever the reason is for exiting, your business always needs to be exit ready, and it needs to be exit ready at the maximum amount of value. So the things that I work with and the things that I work to are all around creating value in your business so that when and if somebody comes knocking on your door and says, is your business for sale? Or maybe you think about buying, you're ready for that. Or here's the other side of the equation. And I know it's mostly business owners of small and medium sized business listen to this audience or listen to this podcast. And I'm talking to you, the listener, you probably know someone who has passed away prematurely, or maybe know someone who had a divorce and had to exit their business. Maybe they were partners and you and your partner, and I'm talking not necessarily married partner, but business partner, disagreed. And then you had a divorce essentially with your business partner, and one of you had to exit your business. Maybe it's disability. Cancer afflicts a lot of people. Car accident, anything, heart attack that would put you out of the business for 3 months, 6 months, whatever the case is. Is your business going to survive that? Is it exit ready? Distress, another one like COVID a few years ago, or these days, the big one is tariffs, right? Everybody's talking tariffs. What's going to happen? So, recession, depression, all these different things that you can't control independently, but you have to deal with as a business owner. Is your business exit ready? And so, one in two businesses exit because the person wants to. One in two business is because they have to. And you don't want to be in that situation where your business isn't ready to go if you have to exit. You want to have it built to the maximum amount of value. So if you have to exit, you're going to get something for it so you can leave the legacy that you want to leave, all of that other stuff, and that you can maximize the amount of dollars that's going to come in when you have to leave that, because it's already troublesome that you have to leave if you have to leave and you don't want to leave. You don't want that as well. So when should you start exit planning and looking at building the value and building all of the things that you need to do to build value? You should start today if you haven't thought of it before, because it's going to free you up. It's going to provide more value for you down the road when and if you're ready to sell. And if something does happen, you're so much further down the road in preparation for having to deal with that inevitability.
That makes total sense. And it's interesting the building value because I mean in my mind at least it's you have X amount of customers, X amount of money comes in, but it sounds like there's more in that of what builds value for people to have a price tag of this is how much it's worth.
So much more. And, you know, we have what we call the value builder assessment, and I'm accredited with the value builder assessment. So from that, it's not one that I developed myself, but it's one that literally thousands of business owners have been through. And you can take it at the exitreadybusiness.com. You'll see my picture there. And right beside it, it says, take the value builder assessment. So that's one of my sites, but it takes about, I'd say about 20 minutes to do it. And what it will do is it'll spit you back a report on 8 key areas of your business. We call them the 8 key value drivers. And it gives you sort of, that idea of green light, yellow light, red light. So it lets you know, it gives you the benchmark on all of these areas where you're really hitting the home run and where you've got some work to do. And that's your starting point because you need to have a benchmark to work towards. So we start off with that. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm kind of low on these two. What am I going to do? And you can also, if you put your numbers in, you don't have to put your numbers in, but if you put your profitability numbers in there as well as part of it, it will show you when you put in your NAICS code, which is the code that is associated with your industry, essentially. And we're comparing to other businesses in your industry on the multiples of turns on done deals and things like that. So we can better understand where you stand in the scope. So if you rated at the end of it, it gives you a percentage. And if you rated 40%, you're at the lower end of those multiples. But if you rated 90%, you're at the higher end of that multiples. So now I have a range of value. And it's just good stuff. It's not perfect, but it's some place to start that gives you a benchmark. Because here's the thing. And I talked to one literally yesterday, and so many people think their business is worth so much more than it is. And this was a small business that I was talking to yesterday. She truly, from the bottom of her heart, believes her business is worth 300,000. And And she said, "Well, I've been at it 25 years. And, we've done all this and we've done this." And she's a great community person, all of this other stuff. She has built great processes and has people and she has a system. But the reality of it is it doesn't spit off the income that would generate the fact that it's worth 300,000. It's probably worth more like 180. And that was a hard nut. She goes, "Well, I need 300,000." Well, if you have to exit and you need 300,000 and you're probably gonna get 180, that's a problem, and that's a real problem, and that doesn't matter. You can add zeros to that. If it's 1.8 million compared to 3 million, it doesn't matter. We're just talking percentages. So many business owners think their business is worth way more than it is, and they leave it too late to find out on what their true value is. They know what their house is worth. They can do the comparables down up and down the street. They know what their portfolio is worth. They look at their portfolio and like, "Oh, Tesla went down 40%. That's hurting." And, or whatever the case is, right? So, but they don't really know what their business is. And often their business is the most valuable thing in their portfolio, yet they don't know the value. And they're not working towards building value. And building value isn't just what am I taking home this year versus what am I taking home next year. That's a part of the equation. That profit side of things is a very important piece, but there are so many other things underneath it. Often these intangible values are the ones that create the most benefit and the highest multiple when you have everything lined. So we have the profit, of course, that's an important piece. Now we're going to get into do I have, and my little book that I wrote really doesn't specifically deal with these, but I still look at it in this framework. My little book's called The Business Owner Breakthrough, which is the same as my podcast, but I'll give you the 5 Ps. The 5 Ps are what the book is all about: the promise, the product, the process, the people, and the profit. And no matter what, if you look at your business in those zones and you're always working in those different areas, you're going to build value in your business. And it all starts, the bedrock of everything is your promise. It's not your mission. It's not your vision. Those are internally focused. I know you talk a lot about those in your podcast here, Megan. But the promise is the one you shout out to your customers. It's the one that you're on top of the hilltop saying, "This is what I do." And so the idea here is we really need to hone in on understanding our customer's problem. And we're aligning and assigning all of the things, our process, our products, or if you're service-based business, service, right? And our people to that promise so that we can have the right amount of profit. And when we do that, we're honing that product. And a lot of times, the business owners that I talk to, they've been at it for a while. And here's one I hear a lot: "But we've always done it that way." Well, you know what? Things change. And some of those products and services that you've always done aren't profitable anymore, or maybe aren't even wanted anymore. And if your promise is promising that we can help you with these, but nobody cares anymore, think about cable TV. Like, how many people actually have cable TV compared to 30 years ago? Think about, even a cassette, like a VHS cassette for people that actually, even if you've even heard of one, but we used to put the cassette in to watch on the DVD player or whatever the case is, a DVD into the DVD player to watch a movie. Well, all of that's gone now. So there's probably stuff in your business that is no longer valuable to your customer, even though you consider it a core item. So we really need to hone our core items. We need to hone our products. We need to always be expelling the stuff that nobody cares about, looking for the newest stuff that everybody in our zone of influence cares about, and really honing in on that middle 80% and making it more profitable through the processes that we have. The next piece is process. And process, most small business owners, the process is up here. And for those that aren't watching the video, I'm pointing to my head. If all of the process is in your head, that's a problem. Who else is going to do it if you're not there? The process has to be out. It has to be written. It has to be on video. It has to be on audio. It has to be in a way that they can actually do it and train to it so that we can actually align and assign it to someone else, which is the people portion. And the people portion of the 5 Ps is your ideal client, your ideal teammates, and your ideal outsourced suppliers that help deliver your promise. And you can imagine there's all sorts of background in each of these pieces in order to hone your business and make it the most valuable it can possibly be. Because when that's all in alignment, the profit portion comes. And when the profit portion comes, now you're saying, do I want to sell this now because I can get maximum amount? Do I want to keep the profit? Do I want to reinvest the profit into something else? Am I going to add another location? Am I going to add a sub business? Am I going to buy a 12-plex? Or am I going to, take some time and invest it somewhere else entirely? It doesn't matter, but you can't even think about that until you get to that.
That's really interesting. You've given me a lot to think about. I hope you've given everyone else a lot to think about. But for me as well, the process has been an interesting learning curve the last while because like I've started with the podcast. There's a whole process to
Mhm.
get the shorts out, to get the podcast out, to get it on YouTube and make everything go at the same time. And I mean, for me, that's a very small process compared to some of the massive processes that bigger businesses have. And like it's really key, I've found, to that getting the information from someone's head down into a process that someone else could follow.
A
That's
big
huge.
piece it's a big piece of what I do in helping people understand ways and technologies and different things to help get that going. And we use it in our businesses every day. I mean, I'll give you a prime example. This is a real life show. We have shoe stores, as I mentioned. I've got 2 key people that run our shoe stores. I haven't made a hire in at Shootopia for 7 or 8 years now. Like I just not something I do. Unless one of those 2 people left, I wouldn't be involved. In the last couple of weeks, I've been involved in interviews. One of my 2 key people is pregnant, and I'm so excited for her. Like, it's just so good. But at the same time, it's a pretty big hole on our accountability chart at Shootopia. And she not only works in Shootopia, she does admin and bookkeeping and HR and a variety of different things, but she works in my coaching business too and has a bunch of accountabilities over there. So now we have to take all of the things out of her head, which, by the way, because of the way we run our business, most of them are already out of her head and into process. But it's never perfect. So, but now she had a lot of that, which is good. But I can tell you, she's spending a lot more time cleaning that up to ensure that everything is there. It's like, how do I do, what do I do to merge QuickBooks with our point of sale system? And how do I do this? And who gets paid? And how does payroll work? And all these different things. And how do I do the billing on the coaching side? And she's got videos for all of these things. She's got detailed documents that we've transcribed, checklists. Everything is there because we're going to parse her job off to several people. We're going to hire an outsource bookkeeping person that's going to look at instead of us doing it internally, so that all of her sort of just the bookkeeping stuff will go there. And then some of the stuff will be done internally and transferred to the higher level bookkeeper that we're outsourcing to. Some of her jobs for the coaching side of thing will revert back to me. Some of them will go to a VA in the Philippines. But all of these different things we need to be looking at and parsing off as process, because and here's the other piece, if the process isn't good, it doesn't matter who you hand it to, it's not going to get done.
And all
So,
of these processes, where do you keep them?
well, there's a variety of different ways of doing that. In our business, a lot of our core processes are literally on a G drive that we will assign certain files to certain people that are accountable. We also have let's call it a Shootopia brain, and it's an outsource capability. It's where all of our video training and all of that sort of stuff lives, and they're linked to G Drive is where everything is, but it depends on how they get there. Sometimes they get there through a variety of links and all of that sort of stuff. But whether it's Dropbox or G Drive or any of the other ones, I mean, you just need, it really doesn't matter. We just happen to use Google for most of our stuff. So they live there, they're documented properly, and then the links are built and the accessibility for those that need are available to those that get it. So, and then we've got videos tied in. We've got like I said, a whole training platform. So you can go into that and kind of grab the video, and then it'll link to any of the documentation, checklists, any of that sort of stuff that's needed. So, this is all part of the thinking process of building process in your business so that you can build value in your business. Because here's the thing. If somebody comes to you and says, all right, I want to buy whatever it is, your mechanic's shop or your plumbing business or your retail store, and you are the one that lives in everything, you're the main salesperson, the main doer, the main person that orders everything, the main marketing person, the main bookkeeping person, the person that hires everybody, all this stuff. If you're involved in everything and you're not there anymore, how valuable is your business? Because now this new person's sitting at your desk on Monday morning and saying, I don't know what to do. That's a problem. I mean, I think almost anybody could associate with that. But if somebody comes in and sits down at your desk on Monday morning and everything just happens, the door opens, the lights go on, the customers are served, the stuff gets ordered, a new person quits, it's not a big deal because you took over and they don't want to work for you anymore. It's like, hey, listen, we have a process to hire somebody and an interview process and a training facility, and it's all set up and it's all ready to go. We just here's where we place the ad every time. It works like a charm. All of that kind of stuff. If that's all humming in that zone, that's a valuable business, especially if it's a profitable one, right? Which is where we kind of started that whole conversation. First of all, it's got to be profitable.
Yeah.
And then it's like, now we're going to hone in on all this stuff. And how do we market it? How do we operate it? Who are we looking for, both as ideal customers and as ideal teammates that are going to help deliver our promise? All of these things. And if it's done in a way that these people can come in and feel comfortable about, think of the amount of confidence that would give that individual. And what do you want in investment? Confidence.
That's exactly it. Huh. Well, I think we've covered a lot of advice for entrepreneurs, which has been amazing. I've definitely got some myself. Do you have any other things to pass on to people who are looking to, yeah, either get into the entrepreneurship world like your shoe store or even exit strategy as well?
Best thing to do, really. If you want to talk to me, it's nice and easy. You can just go to speaktopete.com and book an appointment with me. I'm happy to hop on. Anybody who's listening here today, happy to hop on for half an hour and chat about the things that you're going through in your business to see if we're a right fit for coaching, or I'll give you some tips that you can just take that and go and try it on your own as well. I'm happy to do that with anybody listening today. But, if you go over to my main site, pete-mohr.com, a lot of the stuff that I've talked about, the exit ready business, there's a website there with the value builder assessment. If you're interested in Colby, I'm a Colby coach as well, which is all around building better teams and understanding yourself better and how you make decisions and how your teams make decisions. Lots of stuff there too. Simplifying entrepreneurship is my main business for coaching, and there's all sorts of free downloads. So anybody can get all sorts of information to dig into some of the stuff that we've talked about for free. Nothing other than you have to give me your email so that I can send it to you. And happy to help out anybody. Basically, just go to speaktopete.com and we'll hop on a call and have a little chat.
That is so amazing. And your goal vision, I feel like you've already lived it with the month away to a certain extent. What are some other things that you have in your visioning?
Yeah. I have created my own day planner, and that's available as well for anybody that wants it, because it's more of an entrepreneurial planner type system, and I use it all the time. So I do a lot of forward thinking, Megan, and I don't have any sort of significant desire to retire. So if my business is running on the rails without me involved at Shootopia, why would I ever sell it? It's a good investment, like just like any other investments. And yes, I'm going to be more involved. Like I said, Michelle's leaving and I'm going to dig back in on some stuff. That's part of being a business owner. But at the same time, we'll get everything set up and rolling again. My sort of long-term strategy really is I just love working with entrepreneurs. I love having these conversations. I'm heading out to a retail conference in Denver later this week. I'm back home, then I'm out to Calgary, then I'm back home, then I'm down to Phoenix, and I'm back home. A lot more stage type work. I love getting in front of audiences. I love, face to face. But I do a lot of the reality of it is most of my coaching is done right here on Zoom and all of that sort of stuff so that we're having these conversations working through in either groups or one-on-one type settings, the things that they need to do to build value in their business every day. It's not just about what I'm taking home this month. It's about building this value for the end goal, which is, you could pay your mortgage for 25 years, but at the end you actually want to get your money, right? And so it's the same thing in business. You got to be building value the whole time and not just thinking about, what's coming in this week.
That's a great vision. I like that the vision is I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing because I love it.
I think the big thing, Megan, is that, you know, if you take it way out to the big one, the big one is this. It's my belief that business owners are the backbones of their communities. They're the people that pay for the wings on the hospital. They're the people that put in the CT scanner. They're the people that help fundraise for the steeple on the church. They're the people that put in the kids' playground down there because you'll see the plaques. Oh, this was donated by so and so, and this, and it's all not always, but probably 80% of the time, they're business owners. If you look at all the volunteerism that goes on in your community, 80% of the time, the leaders of those volunteer organizations are business people. And it's my belief that if I can help business owners have a better business, create more profit, and give them back more time, what are they going to do? They're going to give a portion of that money and that time back to their community because you see it time and time again. And I know anybody listening to this knows this is true. When you look at all of the giving that happens, like, I'm talking the major giving, not just the $100 to the Heart Foundation and stuff like that. I'm talking about some major dollar giving. It's usually business owners. And it's my belief that if I can give them more time and help them make more money, that they're going to give it back in spades. And I just love the idea that in some small way, I've helped the communities of the people that I've helped their businesses grow and prosper.
That's amazing. I like that a lot. It's a good vision. Question for me. What do you got today, Pete?
Is your business exit ready? What do you need to do, Megan? What are the things after we've chatted? What are the things that were popping through your head that said, maybe I need to work on this?
So I've got one VA, and because he's taking over a lot of stuff, the processes was one of the biggest things that stuck out to me. Like that's one of the biggest things we're working on. And also for me, it's the communication of knowing how to say things so that someone whose first language isn't English can get it and repeat it again and it's correct and it's out there so anyone could follow. So at the moment, that's one of the big ones for me. I'm working in Go High Level and I like systems, trying to set up all of those systems so they're automated. How do I make them fast and easy and simple for business owners? And how do I answer the questions up front so that they don't need to ask me? Like, how do I take my knowledge of the questions they're going to ask and make that already available on the sign up page or the info page, eventually training someone who could answer my emails. And the other exciting part is around the AI bots, which slightly scare me, but are also exciting. That's kind of why I was asking about your training process because I've been learning you can give them all of those Google Docs and they can essentially be the source that employees can ask questions to. And they take all that information so someone doesn't have to go through all the documents. They can conglomerate that and be like, this is the exact answer you need to know. Go do with it what you have to do.
So good. I mean,
Yeah.
we call it the Shootopia brain because we've done that. Like it's all there and they can just fish it, right? So, we did it probably maybe 2 years ago, and things have changed so much since then and got even better. So it's time for us to refresh that, to be honest. But the processes that are going in are being refreshed all the time. It's just sort of the activation of the whole thing itself. And that's the beauty of things these days. It's like things are changing at such a torrid pace that it scares some people to the point where they just don't do it because they're like, well, it's just going to change anyway. But my philosophy is that, hey, if you can get 2 years out of something before you change something, it's well worth the time. It's well worth the effort. Just go ahead and start the journey, because once you do, it gets addictive. It's like, wow, why didn't I do this earlier? Oh my gosh, this is so much better. And your team too. Your team can do stuff without you being involved, without them knocking on your door, without you getting a text or a phone call, without you being at the store. Stuff can happen without your involvement. It's like so good.
And also those platforms or those, I don't know, I'm learning about CRMs and just the CRMs that are like, we are going to keep adding things as new things progress and come into the space.
For
And just
sure.
having those resources that are like, no, we're growth mindset resources.
I mean, we're recording this episode on Riverside.
Yeah,
I've
exactly.
been using Riverside for years, and I can't tell you how advanced Riverside is now compared to what it was even 3 years ago, 4 years ago. It's just amazing how all of these different things are becoming multiple use platforms that are really getting you into saving all kinds of money too, instead of having 3 or 4 or 5 different programs doing, getting your podcast out. I need one for clips and I need one for this and one for that. It's like, all right, well, just hit a button and the magic happens. And, yeah, you have to do a little bit of editing and you have to do some of this other stuff along the way, but really it's like 90% pretty good. Even 4 years ago when I started my first podcast, or maybe 5 years ago now, it was, you got the recording and then everything had to happen after that. So things are moving at a torrid pace. And as the entrepreneur, don't be scared about it. If you don't love technology, find somebody on your team that does. Find somebody on your team that's excited about it. Find somebody in your team that you can say, hey, just as long as I get the end result, you go figure out what we need to do with all this new crazy technology. And if the end result works and it works within the budget, then awesome.
Yeah. I trust them. I think
Yeah.
that that's it. Find someone who's excited about it, who wants to go find the best, and then trust them in that capacity to be able to do that. Thank you, Pete. Thank you very much for all your wisdom today and sharing it with us.
Thanks so much for having me, Megan. It was a real pleasure.
Cheers.